Hello and welcome to the Daily Dose, where I, Joshua Haymes, bring you Christian conservative cultural commentary, and we apply the Word of God to the world around us. We got a spicy episode today. This is episode 2, and today I'll be reacting to this trad wife battle that just dropped on the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. I watched about, I don't know, I saw it come up on my feed and I watched it for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I thought, you know what? I think it would be better to just give you guys a sincere live reaction to this trad wife debate that went on the Michael Knowles YouTube channel today. And so I, as many of you guys may know at this point, and maybe some of you don't, I am an advocate for biblical patriarchy. So not complementarianism. This is, I would say, well, there's a whole debate to be had on just the terminology itself. But I'm going to use the term biblical patriarchy, one, because the Bible doesn't apologize for patriarchy, so neither will I. And so as someone who advocates for biblical patriarchy, I think I have a unique take to bring to this debate. And by the grace of God, you'll leave this reaction video encouraged and hopefully equipped to be a better man, better husband, and for all you ladies listening, better wife, better woman. All right, so let's jump into this trad wife battle that happened on the Michael Knowles YouTube channel here. And this is like genuine live reaction, so I didn't prep a ton for this. I do have an episode on biblical patriarchy. You guys should go check that out. But so this is my unfiltered take here. Tobacco. Tom Bigby specifically, it's the best. All right, let's get into this.
Every saves you, that mate's gonna sit and live with mom and dad all your life until Prince Charming comes and saves you. That may not happen.
I promote women can have it all.
I personally don't think women should vote.
Every single thing you say is literally appealing to men.
I think you're evading the question.
Well,
I think the advice you give to women is awful, and I don't think it comes from true happy. That
Of
would be happy.
course it is.
You wouldn't be so triggered.
Berated my husband for absolutely no reason.
I just looked at 2 seconds. I was, oh, that's a gay man.
When I was a boy, I was told there would never be a war between the sexes because everyone was sleeping with the enemy. And somehow that actually isn't true anymore. Somehow men and women are not sleeping together. I guess that's good if they're not married, but they're also not getting married and they're not having kids. There seems to be a spike in men hating women, a spike in women hating men, an abundance of dating apps, and yet a dearth of dating. So to help me, an old man, make sense of this, I have invited on 3 hip, cool, young Zoomer women. That would be Melanie Mack, Emily Wilson, and Savannah Stone. Ladies, thank you for being on the show.
thank you so much for having us.
So my friend Tommy Lauren has gone viral for talking about this problem and placing the blame at the feet of stay-at-home boys.
Leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less, and if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim.
Pickings are slim. It's all the boys' fault. It's not the girls' fault. Emily, what say you?
I don't know if you guys remember when Tommy Lauren gave that take. I think that was just a few months ago. And I'm kind of torn on this issue because I think an important distinction that we need to make at the upfront is the difference between fault and responsibility. The difference between fault and responsibility. You can be responsible for something and yet it not be your fault that something happened. So, for example, if the first mate runs the ship aground, it was the first mate's fault that it happened, right? But ultimately, whose responsibility is it? It's the captain's responsibility. And so I think that's an important thing to distinguish, because ultimately, so as you see in the title, I'm advocating for biblical patriarchy. And let's get a definition for that real quick. I'm going to want to define that. Like a true biblical man would be defined as the kind of person who takes the glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility. The glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility. And so at one level, I want to say that feminism is old, and I'm sure we'll get into this. I don't know where this all goes, but feminism really is one of the most foundational cancerous tumors that is ruining our society. Feminism, like every single wave of it, first, second, third, like it's rotten at its core. Okay, and I don't mean feminism as defined as the women being as equally human as men. Okay, we all agree with that. The biblical patriarch advocate, like myself, agrees with that. We're all created in God's image, but patriarchy simply means father rule. And so the person who's advocating for biblical patriarchy, like myself, is going to want to say that really the way that society should be structured, not just society, men should rule not just in the home, but in the church and in broader society. Father rule. Men should rule. God has given them that responsibility. And they rule by taking up the glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility. They're not tyrants, right? There are toxic patriarchies where men are just, king of the castle in a way that it's all about them and their desires, their wants, their needs. That's not what it looks like. As I said at the top of the show, our verse for today is Ephesians 5, right? Ephesians 5:22 through 33, which says, yes, wives, submit to your husbands, right? Just as the church submits to Christ. And husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church, okay? That's really important. So that gives like a frame for how I'm going to be addressing this whole conversation, where I'm going to be coming from. And so as it relates to that Tommy Lauren clip, she was wanting to blame men. And what I want to say is that I think really feminism is to blame. However, men are responsible. Men permitted feminism to arise and pushed feminism because ultimately feminism is it's good for carnal men, right? I say good, not in the virtuous sense, but it benefits carnal men, right? It means no responsibility when it comes to sexual partners. It means you can force women into the workplace, and our economic responsibility, not responsibility, but our GDP goes up, whatever. And so it ends up resounding to the benefit of men, and women actually, they are the victims of feminism in many ways. And while they're at the very same time that they're championing it, yet it's making them miserable. We've seen this. If you look at the statistics, women are far more miserable now than they were, in the 1940s and the 1950s. They're getting sadder. That's because feminism sold them a bill of goods. Anyway, so that frames the conversation. We're coming at this from a biblical patriarchy standpoint, and I do believe that men are ultimately responsible for the state of society. God has called us to lead, and so, but that doesn't mean that it's men's fault. Okay, so let's jump in to this and continue.
No, I'm with her on this. I'm not saying that there's not blame across the board. I don't even think it's a men hating women, women hating men. Yeah. I think it's everyone hating.
Yeah. Okay. I got to give Doug some credit on that. Yeah. So that comes from, I think I first read that in Doug Wilson's book. A Glory and a Covering, maybe. I can't remember. But yeah, I got those categories. Doug Wilson did such a good job of categorizing what biblical masculinity does. Honestly, what Doug Wilson and what they've done at Canon Plus, in terms of creating resources for the family, please, if for no other reason, sign up for Canon Plus to get Christian family resources. Truly, truly incredible. It's changed the way that I understand my role as a husband, as a father. It's been such a blessing. Thanks, Captain Haddock, for that. Yeah, definitely got to give some credit there.
Each other problem right now, because I see it women against women, men against men. But she's right. I mean, I live in Beverly Hills. Most of the men around here come from money. They're complete mommy's boys. They stay at home until they're literally in their late 30s. And there's guys who walk around and they're TikTokers. I mean, she makes a lot of good points. I agree with everything she's saying. I don't ever put 100% blame on. But yeah, she's right. Men are also becoming a bit feminine.
Okay, so if you had to place the blame, you say it's not 100%. Is it 90-10, 75-25?
But I think it's 50-50.
50-50. Okay, so then then it's not primarily the boys, it's the girls and the boys. Savannah?
Yeah.
I would say both, but I have a little bit of a different perspective because I live in the South. So most men are very masculine, they're manly, they go hunting, they provide for women. And I would say where I live, it's actually mainly the women, and I'm going to contribute that to modern feminism. Just the fact that they don't want to be traditional, they don't want to live this traditional life, but the men are looking for that. But they're struggling to find traditional women because modern feminism has told women that their career is more important than having a family.
Okay, so you're placing the blame more at the girls' feet.
Yes.
Okay, all right, Melanie?
I think it's 50-50. I do think it's a society problem, but I also have to say that if you live, so I live in Texas, and here in Texas, there's not this stay-at-home mommy boy epidemic going on for the most part, at least in the Bible Belt where I'm at. Men are masculine, they're working hard, and the women are feminine out here for the most part. So I think if you really want to get away from all of that, all of these, everybody want to be a TikToker, everybody want to be a Kardashian, because this is on both sides, then move somewhere that has good biblical values.
Okay, so that's a great point that she made. I moved from Los Angeles, California. So I tried, for those of you who don't know, I planted a church in March 1st, 2020 out in Venice, in the belly of the beast in Los Angeles. And we were a very young church, as you might imagine. I was 20. Well, when we actually officially launched, I was 27 years old. So typically church plants typically attract people that are in the same general age range as the planter. So we had a lot of young people, and we had a lot of young singles. And let me tell you, the dating pool in Los Angeles was abysmal. You're in a city of millions and millions. But man, to find a quality partner, and we had a lot of guys. That's just the nature of it. I was our church, our ecclesiological ethos tends to attract men who want to be men, and so it really was. It was abysmal, and so I realized whenever we ultimately decided to close down our church plant, like for all you single guys here, like part of it was you guys aren't going to be able to start a family here. You're just not going to be able to find a suitable mate. And I know it's not impossible in these cities, but it is near about impossible in a lot of these major cities, particularly in Los Angeles. So I think it probably goes both ways. Obviously, I happen to be in community with a bunch of men who are looking for godly women, and they just they were few and far between. Let's just say that. And so I think there really is something to. We shut the church down. We're going to free you. You need to go somewhere else. You need to go to Texas or Tennessee to find a suitable mate that you can raise a family with.
That's a great point. But now we're at 50-50. So it's not even 50.001 to 49.999. You're saying it's exactly 50. None of you want to place the blame at the girls or the boys' feet. Okay, fair enough. Very diplomatic, very nice, very complimentary, and very trad in many ways. But then how do you fix it? If you got the boys acting like girly men and you've got the girls acting sort of vacuous and promiscuous, then how are the two going to meet?
I think you only fix this with God. You only fix this with biblical values. I think the reason why society has gone so chaotic like this, a huge reason why, is because people have, and society has steered away from these values. They normalized hookup culture, which is not good. This is why a lot of the youth aren't dating anymore, because that's not healthy at all. And then you've also got a very selfish culture. Everybody wants to feel like they're the prize. And the problem with feeling like you're the prize when you're seeking a relationship is you're looking for a servant instead of an equal partnership where you're both putting in 100%.
So what's the practical advice? I mean, at least to the men, maybe I could give
that. I'm interested what this girl, she's very clearly, she's probably a Christian, I'm assuming. But that's an incredibly important point. The reason it's so hard to date nowadays is because finding a partner is now that we have apostatized as a nation, finding a partner is all about self-fulfillment. Like that's what life is all about. It's about living your true self and finding self-fulfillment. And what that does is you're this is, a lot of you guys have heard this, might be even cliche at this point, but the only way that the way that a marriage was intended to work, it's like a triangle, right? With God at the very center. I think she made that point. God at the top, right? And the closer that you guys get to God, the closer you're actually getting to each other. But whenever you try to idolize each other, you're just going to butt heads. You're just going to butt heads, right? Because ultimately what you're doing is you're worshiping. God is the only one who can bear the weight of that ultimate, not even ultimate authority, but the ultimate need, the ultimate desire. He's the one who satisfies the ultimate need and the ultimate desire. And so whenever you try to put that on someone else, you're effectively worshiping them. And so what happens when they let you down? Well, ultimately, your God is letting you down. So it's a huge deal, right? But if you are centered, if you've centered your life on God, well, then whenever they let you down, it's like, well, I've got God. He's the one who truly satisfies me. I'm satisfied in Christ. And then you don't have to punish them. You don't have to get so insecure whenever they let you down because your God hasn't failed you. You've got a solid foundation. You've got a true rock, an anchor that you're holding fast to. And as you guys grow closer to God, then you grow closer to one another. And so, but because we've lost that, well, now it's all about self-fulfillment. And yeah, everyone's just worshiping their significant other, and it just breeds chaos.
Practical advice to women, but what would you say to the men who are stay-at-home boys who can't get a girlfriend? What say you, Emily?
So get a job, move out. You don't need to be online. I don't think online is necessarily a place for men. I think it's a very feminine thing to do, and I just think men need to have. This is like a rabbit hole because obviously, yeah, we've like neglected men, which some people can agree with, some people don't. But I just think, yeah, it's a big thing. It's going to be where they're raised, what they're raised by, what religion, what culture, what they're around. I mean, there's so many factors to it. There's literally no black and white answer. And if there was, we'd already have it figured out by now. But obviously, there is going to be some aspect of embracing normal traditional gender roles. So it's like, yeah, I think maybe if men were out and working and not on TikTok, things would be a little bit better. But I don't know. I don't have a definite answer for any of these things. It's also culture. Things have changed. Also, it's so expensive out here. Most men are like, it would be insane to be like, how am I going to be a provider? You have to make millions and you still feel like you're at the poverty line out here.
So what do you say? You say things have changed. That's totally true. I haven't dated since before dating apps existed, actually, believe it or not, because I married my high school sweetheart. And so I just missed it, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of modern dating, even in my single years. So what do you do? If you go out on a date with a guy, you say things have changed, it's hard out there, you got to be a zillionaire to get a wife. First date, does the guy pay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and here's the thing. You don't have to be a trillionaire, a zillionaire, billionaire, or millionaire to get married. People, this is such a common misconception. People have been getting married in extreme poverty and having tons of kids for their entire life, like for the entirety of the human race. Like that's just how things have been, right? And yeah, it's so worth it to have a big, beautiful family and to not be able to take that vacation than to live that dink lifestyle so that you can, take every vacation that your heart desires. No, you're not going to be satisfied surrounded by the pictures of your vacation in Cabo on your deathbed. You're going to be deeply joyful and satisfied if you're surrounded by your people, by the eternal souls that you brought into existence. Ultimately, God did, but you did through the creative act, the procreative act of marriage, and you're surrounded by your children. Now, that is beautiful. That is wonderful, right? So let's just keep going.
Every day.
Yes.
Every date. Okay. Does the guy open the door for the girl?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Does the guy expect any improper behavior that really should only exist between a husband and a wife?
No, of course, out here.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
Hold on. Wait. Is that of course yes or of course no?
They shouldn't.
Of course, yes.
They do expect it. Is that good? It should they expect it or they should not?
Okay. So that's not trad. I don't know. So far, the two dark-haired girls on the right, they've exhibited some tradness, right? Some traditional feminine values. But yeah, if you're dating if you are willing to even go on the dates if you're willing to go on dates with the kind of men who are expecting that at all before marriage, like that's not trad. You're not trad. No.
Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to demonize them. It's what
I will. Yeah, men, marry a woman before you sleep with her. It's that simple. All right. And this is why we need Christendom. This is why we need Christianity to set the societal standards. Because even so, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, we were already on a bit of a liberal decline. I mean, it accelerated in the 60s. But generally speaking, there was a Christian ethos in the air, right? And there was social stigma attached to sleeping around, that sort of thing. And that's good. We should re-stigmatize those things. Christianity should be setting the norms, because when it doesn't, all of society falls into sexual depravity, sin that they otherwise might not engage in. Okay, you can't force somebody to follow Christ. You can't, change someone's heart by changing cultural practices and stigmas or even laws. You can't change anyone's heart, but you can protect them from engaging in grave sin. And that's what social stigma does. That's really important.
most people do. So it is what it is.
But
Not
do you think,
promoting it.
I guess that's kind of getting to the point here, I think, because if the critique from the women is these men aren't acting like men and they're not being chivalrous and they're not, treating me like the sweet angel that I am. And then the critique from the men is, well, these girls are not behaving like dignified, modest women. They're on OnlyFans and they're, promiscuous or whatever. You can see how both sides got to that place, but then don't we need to raise the expectations and say, no, ladies, be modest. Men, don't be Casanovas.
Yeah, you got to raise it on both ends, though, which is very difficult because you also have to get women and men to both admit that they were slightly wrong, which no one wants to do because right now,
just slightly wrong. We've just erred just a wee bit in our civilization.
we do is pin each other against each other. Oh no, all the women, they're all on OnlyFans and they're all hoeing it out constantly. Oh, all the men, they're just feminine TikTokers. Like, you got to get to a middle ground. Like, yeah, is it great for every woman out here to be on OnlyFans? No, it's a little crazy because, look, it is kind of sex work. It's kind of prostitution.
Oh, it absolutely
I would say
is.
more than kind of. Yeah,
It is 100% prostitution.
Yeah.
And let me tell you guys, the rise of OnlyFans is one of the it's the scourge of our society. I mean, pornography in general is, but OnlyFans in particular is so wicked and insidious because it has now enticed soccer moms into prostitution. Like what it used to take, and these are middle-class moms who are just looking for extra income. That's what's so bizarre. It's not even bizarre. That's what's so twisted about it, is that it used to be you had a lot of risk involved, and to your own safety, to your reputation. Obviously, there's still reputational damage with OnlyFans as it stands right now. But to your own personal safety, to go out and prostitute yourself. But now you can do it from the comfort of your own homes. You are your own pimp, right? So it's this is something that as conservative Christians, we need to ban it. We need to outlaw OnlyFans completely, and that shouldn't be controversial. I know a lot of people are very libertarian, and I think that libertarianism is just naive. I do. I think that Christians need to understand. Christians all throughout history have not feared wielding political power for the good, and that's exactly what we need. We should completely ban digital prostitution. Completely, specifically, we should target the production and distribution and outlaw that. In fact, I'm actually starting a nonprofit that is dedicated to outlawing, banning pornography, banning digital prostitution. So that'll be coming up soon. I'm not even going to give you the name. It's pretty epic. So that's coming soon. You guys will be able to. Yeah, this is a soft announcement. This is a soft launch for that. But anyway, let's keep going.
But also, when you have all these men that just go through women because they have unlimited options, and this is what most girls are, and they're like, yeah, I want a good girl. But then they say they want a good girl, then they meet the good girl, and they cheat on them anyway. So it's just it's a very difficult thing that's going to take a long time to try to figure out, honestly.
Okay, so then what do we aim at? I guess because there is something that's been delightful to me that's cropped up because I I'm a little more, not totally libertarian. I'm a little more traditionalist. I go to the traditional Latin mass. So when this phrase trad life popped up, I thought, let's go, baby. I'm like the hipster of the trad life. I've been doing it since before it was cool. But this creates caricatures. This creates, some people, they take it a little too far. I sometimes tell women that if they want to date at the traditional Latin mass, the odds are good, but the goods are odd. They're a little weird out there. So, Emily, you went viral for critiquing the trad life.
I'm sorry, I hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like trad wife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day. Slim to none. I would say none that's going to work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure, because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also,
okay, first of all, why is she included in this trad wife panel? That is crazy. This is not it's not trad, okay? She's a feminist. She's just a feminist. She's a Republican. She's a Republican feminist. Okay. Let me put it this way. Most everyone that I know in my community, in my church, where I go to a CREC church here in the Nashville area in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, Pilgrim Hill Reformed Fellowship, most of the women in that church do that. They are stay-at-home moms. And that is, see, in my circles, it's funny because even as I say that, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that outside of my circles, that is almost a slur, a stay-at-home mom, just barefoot in the kitchen. But in my circles, it is honored. It is glorified. It is praised. It is a praiseworthy position. And this girl's talking about like prenups. She's not prenups, but she's basically like, you need to have an exit strategy when he leaves you. No. The whole point of the trad wife movement is that we're going back to the traditional understanding of marriage, which is, no, you don't leave when it gets hard. Okay. You don't. And so the divorce rates, there's this horrible statistic that among evangelicals, the divorce rate is almost identical to those outside the church. But whenever you account for evangelical Christians who actually attend church services weekly, it goes to almost nothing. It almost completely goes away, right? So in other words, faithful Christians, patriarchs don't run out on their wives. They just don't.
let's bring some other things to the table besides sour.
Okay, real quick. I've got 306 people watching all together. Most of you guys are on X. Okay, I don't ask for a lot here at Reformation Red Pill, but do me this one favor. Just leave X and go watch on YouTube. It will help the YouTube algorithm to send this to so many people. Or just open it and play it in the background on YouTube. So go to the Reformation Red Pill YouTube channel and play this live. That will help me so much. And it's nothing. That's nothing for you to do. So let me just make that one request. Go play this on YouTube. It'll help the algorithm. All right. Thank you.
Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe. You guys are cringe, okay?
Okay, so Emily says trad life is BS. Savannah, what say you?
So I actually don't like the buzzword trad wife because, again, I think it's a buzzword in culture and there's a lot of things tied to it. But
yeah, when I was a kid, we just called them wives.
Yeah, that's
exactly
what we do.
Yeah, and now, I would say stay-at-home wife would probably be the proper term for it. But, I would have to disagree. I think that there's a very narrow perspective that when you are a wife who doesn't make her own income and the man is providing, that you are trapped by a man. I mean, I will post things about my husband providing for me and they're like, wait, so he leaves you in 20 years and goes and finds a younger girl and leaves you with absolutely nothing. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't really happen, right? Like 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by women who were unhappy or just bored. It really doesn't happen where the man just leaves you with absolutely nothing. I think too, like my marriage personally, Christ is at the center of our marriage. And if you don't have that foundation, then of course it's going to fall apart. Of course there's going to be infidelity. Of course you're going to be looking elsewhere because you don't have that foundation. And couples that pray together stay together. Like we pray every single night. And
I like this girl. Yeah, couples who pray together stay together. These are nice little evangelical little talking points that are very, very true. And she's got the right of it. But something that we should add to that would be that whenever Christians set the societal standards, even non-Christians behave better. And that's really important. And so that's part of my whole shtick here, is that Christians need to engage in the culture war with a Bible in their hands and a "Thus saith the Lord" on their lips. We need to work on reestablishing ourselves in the institutions, and no-fault divorce should be on our target list that we need to be running after hard, because that is one of the foundational rots, sources of rot in our society. It destroyed the family, right? And divorces went, shocker of shockers, whenever no-fault divorce came around, divorces went way up and families were destroyed. And so we need to be targeting that. And that way, even people who don't have Christ at the center, they won't get divorced, at least not in as great a numbers.
And Christ is at the center, and we're going to church together. And we did that from the beginning of our relationship all the way up until now. So I think bringing Christ back into the marriage is really important. And of course, that's where the traditional roles come in. I believe that when you are going 50-50, which is like this new progressive marriage, that it causes a lot of competition, and there's actually not any contribution, that the man and the woman are just competing with each other because they're both waking up at 6 a.m. They're rushing to get ready. They're going to their 9 to 5. They come home. They're absolutely exhausted. They're splitting the chores. They eat a quick dinner, scroll on their phones, go to bed, repeat the same cycle over and over again. And it's
What a miserable life. What a miserable life.
Not working out. And you've seen the divorce rates go up, and you've seen the birth rates plummet. And so bringing tradition back in, and I'm not saying we all have to be in 1950s gowns and cooking it from scratch.
Wouldn't be the worst idea, but okay, sure, you don't have to. All right.
No, it would be great. It would be great. But I think that bringing back the idea of the husband being the head of the household and the woman being his help, like it was in the Bible, like it literally says in the Bible, would help a lot of marriages.
Emily, does that do anything for you?
No, I stand on everything I said. What's the funniest part about my video was, I mean, that's literally just common sense. You can't even argue with any of it. There's statistical data on my side for every single thing I said.
What? What are you talking about? Okay, sorry.
Especially if you're getting married super young, the odds of that working out. The difference is I pray it does work out for everyone, but also I'm just looking at things from a perspective. But it's funny because I was like, I must have triggered something in all these housewives, because I was like, how happy are you guys that you flood my comment sections?
No, see, here's the problem. This is why everyone reacted so poorly against your video, is because you claim to be a conservative. You claim to be a part of the conservative movement, critiquing your own party, but you're a feminist. You're a feminist, and feminism is at the root. As we said at the beginning, it is at the foundation. It's part of that foundational rot in our society. And I think people are waking up to that reality, and we're realizing we need to just dig out, like at the root. We need to root and branch, take out feminism, because it's bad for women. It's bad for society. It's bad for everyone, okay? And so whenever you're making these statements, bashing the idea that we should aim at single income households where mothers are focused on their home, where they're focused on their people. Listen, I'm not one of those patriarchal guys that says there's no place for women working whatsoever. I think what we have to do is Proverbs 31, we see the woman technically working outside the home, like buying and selling land, all under her husband's authority. And so, but the difference is everything that a woman or a wife does must be aimed at her people and not at the expense of her people. In other words, her first duty is to nurture and raise her children and honor and love and respect her husband, right? So anything that would take away from that, anything that would cause her to take up work outside the home at the expense of those things is off limits, right? And so, but kids, let's say your kids are out of the house, ladies, and you send them off to a wonderful classical Christian school, and all of a sudden you've got some extra time on your hands. A great way to serve your household, you take up, some Etsy shop, or, get into, there are plenty of different things, photography, whatever it is. My wife, she's been doing swim lessons for people at our church. So there's no reason why you can't make some money, but never at the expense of your people. But yeah, anyway, you're a feminist. That's why people are responding poorly to you.
Wishing horrible things to happen on me. And I'm like, so you're not really proving my point that I think any of you are happy. And yes, not even just the fact of divorce. Divorce is what? Probably 50% of this country, potentially more.
It's a little less, but yeah, it's high.
Yeah, it's high. People lose their jobs. People die. People get sick. There's a lot of factors to that. It's also I don't understand these women who claim to be so happy that are, telling me to kill myself online because I have an opinion, which is what I do for a living. I'm like, I promote women can have it all. I work full time. I also cook. I also clean. I do everything. It's not something to be put down, which is the problem with these trad wives are hating on women that work. And it's like, we're not forcing you to work. I like working. It makes me happy. So I'm like, do you, but this pressing this life on everyone, it's not for everyone.
Okay. Again, it's not that this life isn't for everyone. Yeah, there are certain people in certain economic circumstances where, single mothers, they have to work, or even families, you just can't make ends meet and the woman has to work. But the problem is that's now the norm. Okay. And that's not the exception. So yeah, it's, I'll just say it plainly. It's bad for a woman to work full time when she should be raising her children. When I say bad, it's bad in the way that it's unfortunate for her family, right? Sometimes that has to happen. And honestly, we should see that as a tragedy, because really you are missing out on raising your, like the key formative years that you are to be discipling and training your child up. That has to be handed off to someone else. And that should be seen as sad. Okay. It's necessary for some women. And I've known women like that, and they're praying that God would provide opportunities for their husbands to get a raise. And honestly, this should put a fire under husbands to say, okay, I cannot just settle for the status quo. I need to work harder. I need to go hard. I need to start businesses. I need to do things on the side so that I can bring my wife home so that she can care for our children. But whenever you are saying, no, this is a lifestyle choice that is perfectly acceptable, that we outsource the raising and discipling of our children to someone else, that's not perfectly fine and acceptable. That's not a good outcome. That's not a good option. And so it really is. This is a battle of worldviews going on. She's not a conservative. She's a feminist, and she's really, really wrong.
And it's also not going to work out for everyone. And that's just life. So
yes, Savannah, why are you trying to force your views on Emily, huh?
I don't force my views on anyone. Listen, all of my girlfriends have jobs or they're in university, and we get along, and they respect my lifestyle and I respect their lifestyle. Do I think women with children who are married are happier? Yes, there are statistics that show that. But we live in a world where I'm not going to tell women what to do. They can go to work. They can do whatever they want. They can be on OnlyFans. But do I think that they're happier?
I'm happy to say, and we should be happy to say, no, you don't get to do whatever you want to do. Yeah, this idea that personal freedom is the ultimate good in society. This is the fruit of liberalism. And I don't mean liberalism as like the libs, the leftists, the progressive. I mean liberalism, classical liberalism, Locke, Rousseau. This is the fruit of liberalism supplanting Christianity as the primary religion of our society. Okay, liberalism just basically means freedom. It puts personal freedom as the highest possible good, and it just isn't. Okay, we now push personal freedom at the expense of duties. Like there's two sides. Like freedom and duty should be two sides of the same coin, but it's not anymore. We just want personal autonomy, and that is the recipe for the destruction of society.
when they have a man providing for them and they have children? Yes, because it's just our primal nature.
But then you said I was bitter. How am I bitter? Because I work, I cook, I clean, and my man fully takes care of me, and I have my own money to take care of myself. So it's
because
it's not your money. You say if you're married, I don't know. She said partner, so maybe she's not married. I mean, and yeah, if you're not married, then yeah, you shouldn't be depending on. You've not made a covenant with the other person. But if you're married, that's not your money. That's not your money. It's y'all's money. Y'all's money. You guys pull your resources together. You are one flesh, one household.
There would be no reason to go online and bash women who do have that lifestyle unless you were bitter about it. It doesn't make sense to.
My job
regardless.
is to give opinions for a living. It's an opinion. If you were truly happy, you wouldn't be so triggered. But you took it extremely personal. I'm like, sweetie, I'm not talking to you. It's an opinion. I give them for a living. I have a job.
But then why don't you like it that other people give you opinions in your comments?
No, it's funny because it's like you're clearly.
That's pretty good. Yeah, she pulled that Jordan Peterson. Gotcha.
Triggered, as if you're that happy, you wouldn't be bothered. And she thinks I'm like talking about her. I'm like, no, I'm talking about all the young girls online that are literally promoting this, and then ironically doing it as a job to grift and make money as well, which is so funny because they all.
That's just such a small portion. I mean, my entire church is filled with young women who are just wonderful, like quote unquote traditional trad wives. No, I don't like the term either. I just like the term wife. Just the term wife is fine. But I know so many people in my sphere that I mean, most people don't make it a thing, right? There are some people, there's grifters everywhere always. That's going to be a reality. But yeah, most women are just happy, raising their family and being wonderful wives and mothers. And it's awesome. And it's good that people are going online and glorifying that as not only an acceptable lifestyle choice, but a preferable lifestyle choice. That's actually very good. We need more of that. We need more people saying, hey, feminism was wrong. In fact, they sold you a bill of goods. You, young woman who have dedicated your life to working for another man at the widget factory, right? And climbing up the corporate ladder, it's not going to make you happy. In fact, these other women who are posting these, their traditional wife lifestyles, they're pushing back on the narrative that this woman has been so indoctrinated in. And there's a lot writing on it because she's chosen her path, right? So she's defending her life choices and her worldview here. And that's why they're getting kind of catty,
All comes for full circle.
There is some of that. I do agree. I think that from my perspective, encouraging girls who are single and who aren't married, and even if they want that trad lifestyle, go ahead and do something with yourself. In the meantime, set yourself up so that, hey, if that trad life that you want doesn't come to be, because right now we do live in especially a very godless society, and a lot of traditional values come from the Bible. So if you're just going to sit and live with mom and dad all your life until Prince Charming comes and saves you and gives you that trad life, that may not happen. So go ahead, get a job, have a plan for yourself if it comes down to it. But to say that the trad life is cringe or anything like that, I completely disagree.
No, the fake trad life that they promote online.
The fake one,
These girls that sit at home and are like, I did nothing today and I'm taken care of and I'm happy. Oh,
okay, that's not trad. The traditional is hard work. It's hard work to be a mother. I know my wife, we've got 2 kids. My wife is, we hit the pillow exhausted at the end of the day. So I'll give her that one. That anyone who's, if she is true, which she isn't, but if she was truly just critiquing this overly glorified trad life that's literally just, oh, my husband takes care of me and all I do is bake sourdough bread. Okay, yeah, that's silly. That's stupid. That's not what it is. Being a wife and a mother full time and doing it well takes creativity, takes work. It's super difficult and super rewarding. Okay. And so, so if that was what she was only critiquing, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Oh my God. Literally, I want to be like, get a job. Like, sorry, it's cringe and it's gross. And it's so funny. I'm like, why are you out here promoting trad life 24/7, dying on this hill when half of these chicks aren't even married or have kids? I'm like, go get those babies popped out. Go live that life. You're dying on that hill online. I'm
No,
just calling it out.
What about this
Yeah.
point? So you made a point there, because I see a lot of it. I see the criticism, which is, if you're a trad life influencer and your life is mostly like on camera, it's hard for that to be trad. It's hard to be
Right.
trad on TikTok, right? Trad involves, you're kind of more focused on the private life and the home and the kids and the bread, which is great, and it's all fabulous. But I see there's a little bit of a tension there. But to Savannah's point, most divorces are initiated by women. So it's not that some women aren't passed up for the secretary. That does happen, but that's relatively minor. It more seems to be impelled by feminism and by women's choices. And on the notion of having it all, at a certain point, you can't have it all. If you're at work 8 hours a day at the widget factory doing the spreadsheets, those are 8 hours that you're not going to be with your kids or baking bread or, dusting the bookshelves or whatever it is. So I grant that women can have lots of different goods in their lives, but sometimes there is a decision you have to make. And I think the question that's being raised here by Melanie and Savannah is it better, is it more conducive to women's happiness to put on the Victorian era gown or not, or you can wear modern clothes, but have the kids, get married, bake the bread, do the house stuff? Or is it more conducive to women's happiness to go out and work at a corporation and have a career?
Well put, Knowles. I'm excited to see what these, the feminist. I'm wondering what she has to say on this issue.
My answer is do both.
You can't. Society is going to it's going to set a standard. There will be cultural norms. It's not whether there will be cultural norms, it's which cultural norms will it be. And will they be biblical? Will they be cultural norms that are informed by the word of God and the differences between men and women and how God made us and how God wired us? Or will they be feminist cultural norms? That's the question.
But how can you do, meaning if you're going to do the
both.
one, you're going to spend just in what would be your work day, 8 hours a day with the kids. Kids aren't going to be with the nanny. They're going to be with mama, and mama's going to be making breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're going to be giving them piano lessons or whatever. That's one kind of thing. Or you could be doing spreadsheets at the widget factory or whatever the job is. But, there are only 24 hours in a day. At a certain point, you're going to have, when you have to make a decision, am I going to spend my time doing this or that? Which is better?
I don't believe in this choosing thing. We live.
I want all the choices. I don't want to have to be bogged down. I don't want to have to be cornered into actually making a choice and to ultimately deciding what the highest value is going to be. And what that really is saying is that, she wants to keep her options open like a good feminist.
Live in a modern day society. There's so many factors to this. It's not just this whole thing of trad wives. Oh, the corporate slave. First of all, I've loved most of my careers, and most of them weren't 8-hour days, Monday through Friday. These women can have jobs and still be at home and still be with the children.
No, you can't. You just can't. I'm sorry, you can't. And that, so ultimately it does come down to a choice. It's, do you choose money and the ability to have an exit plan in your marriage, or do you choose raising and discipling and training up your children? That's what the options are down to.
Also, a lot of women have kids, and I hate to say it, are not fully fulfilled by that and are like, dude, I need to go back to work. I need to be around adults. Like, sorry, that's a real thing. A lot of my friends are married. A lot of them have kids. So it's just like, I think this whole thing, instead of constantly being like, you have to pick. Also, a lot of these women make content and have full-time jobs as they have careers. And especially a lot of those women are the top women in right-wing media, which is so funny watching these young girls hate on these women. Meanwhile, I'm like, those are the women you would die to achieve to have that type of lifestyle. I'm not going to sit here and hate on Ingram, Kelly, all these women, Allie Beth Stuckey, all these women. They have full-time jobs and they also are able to be moms and take care of their kids. I doubt all those women are horrible mothers. But that's the thing. I'm like, I'm not going to tell women they have to choose. You can do both. You can make it work. And the more money you have, the more opportunities, and you're going to have ways to help. Maybe then I can go hire someone to cook or to clean and spend more time.
No, I know
with
you
my
can.
kids.
That's what you have to do. And I agree. It is kind of funny. If you are on TV every day for a living, by definition, you're not living the most traditional lifestyle. There are a lot of perks to it and a lot of good things. But yes, of course, I totally grant that. But I think you're evading the question, because the point you've just made is, look, I can hire a nanny, I can hire a chef, I can take the money. Yeah, I know. That's one kind of life. But when you say you can have it all, that it violates Aristotle's law of non-contradiction. Because in the two choices two ways of life that I'm presenting at least, are you're at home, you don't have a job. You have a lot of jobs, but you don't have a career. Your life is in the private sphere. The other version is your life is in the public sphere, but you get to do a lot of fun, like wife, mom stuff too. But I'm saying those are separate things. Savannah or Melanie, do you have thoughts on if one is better than the other, or are we all just going to be like modern people and not make a decision?
Yeah. I think if you're actually looking at children and upbringing, and obviously my mom was a trad wife, she still is. She raised my brothers and I. She stayed at home and homeschooled us while my dad provided for the family. And there's no way that she could have had a full-time job and homeschool us and take care of the home and do all the cooking and all of that stuff. So for that, I'm very grateful, because especially when you get on the subject of public schools in general, their indoctrination systems. And also it's hard for kids to really be kids when they're at such a young age.
Yeah. And that's something that has to come up in this discussion. Education. If you're a Christian, I sincerely believe this. Public school needs to be off the table. Public school needs to be off the table. They are indoctrination centers. There's that famous quote from Vodi Bakum, where he said, "You send your kids off to Caesar for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 10,000 hours ultimately throughout their career." Maybe it's not 10,000 hours. Maybe it's more than that. Can't remember. But you send them off to Caesar for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then you're shocked to find that they have come home as Romans and not Christians. Okay? You don't have time to counter-program them. Like, the indoctrination in public schools is real. Now, there are some folks who are in a terribly unfortunate circumstance where it's just not an option to send to some Christian school. Okay, I get that. Homeschool is almost always an option, at least here in the United States. It will require a lot of sacrifices. It will require less vacations, maybe even moving to a smaller house. For a very, very slim minority of people, it's off the table entirely. Like, I know single moms who are Christian, who, they've given their life to Christ and they're trying their best to raise their children in the circumstance that they're in. And they're in an incredibly difficult situation where they're working full-time just to make ends meet. And mother-in-law is taking care of them. That's so hard. And I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that in those circumstances, the church should step in and provide a Christian education for them. I believe that if we're going to take back our country, right? If we're going to make America Christian again, which I believe we must, it's going to require churches to prioritize giving children a Christian education. It's going to need to be preached from the front that this is, that it should be stigmatized. Honestly, sending your kids to school should be stigmatized. When I was in LA in the church planting world, and some of you guys will be familiar with this, what they said was, we're sending our kids to public school so that they can be missionaries. But here's the thing. I now know far too many people who sent their kids to school as missionaries, and they got evangelized by the secular leftist institution. They came home as Romans and not Christians, and now they're waving the LGTB flags and all that stuff, all that nonsense. Right? They got indoctrinated. That's what happens. Right? So this needs to become one of the number one priorities in the church. And so I think churches have got to step up. They've got to help, particularly people who truly can't afford it. I believe there needs to be this needs to be high priority to be able to set aside funds and help those people provide a Christian education for their children.
Age having their 9 to 5 already in the school system. So the fact that my mom dedicated her time into homeschooling my brothers and I'm so grateful for that. And so, not to say that every kid that's in public school doesn't have a good mom and all that, but I think in an ideal scenario for children, a mom would stay home and raise them.
Hold on. I have a lot more pearls of wisdom. First, though, go to Balance of...
No, you don't get to do an advertisement on my show. In fact, we're going to do an advertisement of our own. So you guys get to hear from our sponsors right now. We've got some just wonderful sponsors here. So for today's episode, are you guys ready? Let me get there. We've got Reece Fund. Reece Fund, and here he is. And you guys pay attention, because if you've got some money and you're looking to invest, this is where you need to invest. We as Christians need to be self-consciously building a Christian parallel economy. For too long, Christians have been content begging for scraps at the table of godless institutions and pagan businesses. Businesses and institutions who not only hate us, but they are actively using our dollars to mount their attacks on our culture and our faith. Now, this is where our sponsor, Reece Fund, comes in. Reece Fund exists to provide opportunities for investors to deploy Christian capital into building Christian businesses. So, if you are a Christian with money looking to invest with Reece Fund. Christian capital boldly deployed. For more information, visit reecefund.com. This episode of the Reformation Red Pill podcast is brought to you by the No Other Name Conference. Join the future of Christendom at the No Other Name Conference, October 9th through 11th, 2025 in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Equip yourself with biblical truth to discern cults and counterfeit faiths like Mormonism, Islam, and atheism. Enjoy fellowship with Reformed Christians and hear from men like Jeff Durbin, Joel Saint, and more. Stand firm in Christ's truth. Visit futureofchristendom.org and use code REFORMATION for 10% off your registration. You're not going to want to miss this. Oh, and by the way, at the No Other Name Conference, they're speaking of building families, they're having a singles mixer, guys. If I can make that, so many of you guys may know this. My son will be having a kidney transplant. He's 3 years old. His name's Caleb, so you guys can pray for him. He'll be having a kidney transplant in just about 2 weeks. And so depending on how all of that goes and recovery goes in the coming weeks and months after that, then I'm going to try to make the No Other Name Conference. But they're having a singles mixer, guys. So sign up. Go and use code Reformation. So let's jump back into the video here. Oh, by the way, last thing, please, guys. All right, we've got 34 people on YouTube and 419 people on X. Guys, if you will just do me this one favor, please just go watch it on YouTube. It will tell the algorithm to send it out to tons more people. We're trying to build this thing and make this into a full-time gig that I can bring you Christian, conservative, cultural commentary on the daily. I really want to do that, but you got to help me out. Just click over to YouTube. It's going to take you like 6-8 seconds. Come on, just go over to YouTube and watch there. Let's keep going.
LES.
My mom worked from home. She was a settlement consultant, so she only worked when she had a case come to her. But she sacrificed a lot of work when she had us as kids, and she was able to basically be a stay-at-home mom who took maybe like 2 conference calls a month. So she could have made a lot more money than she did, but she sacrificed that to raise us as kids. So I don't think that you can have it all, because having it all would be her making as much money as she can with work, being very successful in her career, and also having successful children. But you
can't bilocate.
Like
you can't be in 2 places simultaneously.
Yeah, no. And I mean, she took us to school every day. She picked us up. She was at all of our games. She was at all of our events. And I would not trade that for the world. And that was a good example to me, because when I have kids, I want to be at everything. Like I want to watch them grow up. I don't want somebody else raising my children. Or even my parents raising my children, because they have to watch.
I gotta say, Knowles, I don't know if Knowles got any women who actually have kids on this trad wife panel, which I guess that tracks, because you've got, they're talking about this trad wife kind of influencer movement, which I think there's good and bad mixed up with that. But dude, come on, Knowles, you got to get some true trad wives. I know some, if you want me to get you connected. Get some real trad wives on the panel, man.
And so I think I had a great example of that growing up. But even my mom would tell you, like, no, I had to sacrifice a lot of money and a lot of my career to raise children, but she'll tell you it was 100% worth it.
My wife, she's done both. Sweet little Lisa she's a real trad wife. She bakes the bread, she makes the pasta, she does all the stuff, takes the kids out. But she's a PhD. She's had a career. She has a doctorate. I have an honorary doctorate. I'm just the arm candy, really. But she's done that, and she quit her job. And she quit her job because we've been spitting out enough kids that it got to the point where she was going to have to make real choices. Hire more child care, spend less time with the kids, or quit the job. But it finally had come down to it, and you have to make a choice. And she chose the trad life, the trad wife life. But she did have Emily's caveat there, which is that a lot of these moms who decide, okay, I'm going to stay home. I want to be with the kids more. I don't want to. They still want some money, or they still want some kind of outside intellectual activity. So they'll make content. They'll like make they'll post on Instagram, and so it is this little bit of a kind of trying to have it all sort of thing. But my question, I guess maybe I'm more authoritarian than anyone on the panel. I don't know. I haven't heard you weigh in on this, Melanie. But I do.
Gotta say that's why I like Knowles. Let me just say this. I think that Knowles and Matt Walsh are almost single-handedly moving the Overton window in the conservative movement. It's pretty great. I mean, I disagree with. They're both Catholics, which come on, give me some solid Protestants, man. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to be a Protestant, a Reformed Protestant voice that's moving the Overton window in the conservative movement. But they really are moving the Overton window on a number of different issues, whether it's gender issues, whether it's pornography, all these different things. And so there's, and they're here in Nashville. So hey, what, Knowles, why don't you come on the show? Would love to have a conversation with you about the Overton window and how you guys are moving it. This is my invitation. I know you're probably one of these people that are watching anyway. So here's the invitation. Just come on the show. Let's have a good time. We can do it in person.
Do not have the view, as you suggested, Savannah, that, look, a woman, if she wants to do whatever she wants, that's fine. She can go on OnlyFans, or I don't know. It should not, that OnlyFans should be banned. The operators should be arrested and shipped off to St. Helena, So I think we should put lots of limits on all this stuff. And the question that I have is we're trying to bridge the divide between the sexes so that people can have good lives. What is best for these people? We have no problem saying that it is better for the boy to get out of his mother's basement. It is better for the boy to go out, get a job, not be a stay-at-home son or whatever. It's better for him. He should. But then when it comes to women, we say, well, they can do whatever they want. Maybe this is better, but maybe it's not. Maybe this. But I want shoulds. I want you to tell women what to do. What is best for the women? Emily?
I think men should go out and work. I think women should also educate themselves. I think they should find a job that makes them happy. We don't all have to pretend like every job is slave labor. I've had many careers. I've been happy in all of them.
Okay, this is a great time for a quote from G.K. Chesterton. Feminism is the muddled idea that women are free when they serve their employers, but slaves when they help their husbands. That's what she's talking about. No, the best job that you could ever have, ladies, is to serve your husband. Instead, you are, quite literally, Scripture tells us that you are created as his helper, as his helpmate, right? And that's not in any way denigrating. The Holy Spirit is the helper. Okay, one of the members of the Trinity is called the helper. This is not a denigrating position, but it is to clarify there is an authority structure that God has embedded in this world. And it's a beautiful thing to fall in line with the way that God made the world. And so helping your husband is good. And feminism is bad.
I think women should have something that's theirs on their own. I also think it gives you more options. It makes you, in my opinion, because I give those for a living, more valuable and better off. And when they find someone, if they choose to become a stay-at-home, TRAD wife, whatever BS they call it online now, then that's fantastic. If they want to have hobbies, if they want to work a little, if they want...
Let me tell you, and she just doesn't know what time it is. A TRAD man, a traditional man, is not looking for someone to increase his family's GDP, okay? It's not what he's looking for. What a traditional man is looking for is a woman who will love him well, serve him, help him, take dominion over his little corner of the kingdom, and raise and nurture their children, to take care of him and to take care of their household and to raise and nurture their children. That's what a good godly man is looking for. Get the idea that this girl's not looking for a good godly man.
Want to quit their jobs, whatever's best for them that makes them happy and the children, that's great. I support all of that.
Okay, now, so then the question, of course, this begs the question, which is what makes people happy, which is where we stay. What is actually conducive to happiness? Modernity tells you a lot of things are going to make you happy and they don't. But then I see in your answer, Emily, a lot of They should have choice. They should have something on their own, something independent. But I am skeptical of that, okay? I don't have a lot of choices. I mean, I do, and I get to do whatever I want. I don't even have a real job. I just do, this is my job. Is this even a job? But I don't have a lot of choices. I am married. I got to be home at a certain time most nights. I got to do stuff. I've got to make some money because I've got to pay certain bills. I don't accept divorce under any circumstances. I don't have a prenuptial agreement. My wife could take me to the cleaners if she wanted to. I don't have choice. I don't have things that are really independent from my wife. We don't have separate personal bank accounts or anything. We don't have separate anything really. We sleep in the same bed. So my question then is it really good? I know modernity says it's good to be independent and have choices and endless options or whatever. Does that really make you happy, Melanie?
I honestly don't even like the phrase "do what makes you happy." I think you need a foundation, and that foundation is the Bible instead of subjective morality.
Let's go.
We're not always going to have the opportunity to do what makes us happy, because what makes us happy at all times isn't necessarily right. We need to do the right thing. And the Bible has a strong foundation for how men should behave, what men should do, and women. So we can't just live life based on you do you. Let's have this subjective morality because things just go crazy. You got pride parades, you got kids being mutilated, like things just spiral out of control. So do what's right, follow the Bible.
Yeah, I like that. Let's just put that on a t-shirt. Do what's right, follow the Bible. Amen.
That's a pretty straight answer. So Emily's answer is do the things that make you happy, as follow your bliss. Yours is follow the Bible, even if
that just perfectly sums up feminism versus biblical patriarchy right there. Follow your heart, follow the Bible, right?
Even if you think it might not make you happy, it will in the long run.
Yes.
Savannah, what should women do?
I think the word choice is very overglorified in our society. Like, choice is so sexy. We love having choice. I would agree with you, Michael. In my marriage, I will not leave my husband under any circumstance. We follow the Bible. We're loyal to each other. He's the head of the household, so he makes the decisions in our family. Ooh. And I'm actually happier that way. I mean, I'm very young. I got married at 18, but before then I was given all these choices like, oh, well, you could move here and go get a.
You could see on the feminist Emily, you could see on her face this kind of like, oh my gosh, married at 18. Don't you know that you reduced all your personal autonomy down to this one little choice and now you're stuck with it? No. This is the trad life. Honestly, and talk about early marriages, that is going to be absolutely key for conservatives to actually, conservative Christians specifically, to retaking society. Early marriages, lots of kids. That's how we win. No, actually, early marriages, lots of kids, and discipling them well. Discipling them in the context of a truly Christ-centered community where, right now our kids are apostatizing at horrific rates. But that's why we got to add that education piece that I was putting in, that I mentioned earlier. If we want to retake society, which I do want to, I want to rebuild Christendom, right? If we want that, we're going to need reformation in 3 areas. We're going to need reformation in the church, where we are unashamedly proclaiming hard truths like biblical patriarchy from the front with regularity, and training people up in what the Bible says, and deprogramming what the feminist world has been telling them their entire life. So we need reformation in the church. We need reformation in the home that fully recognizes the patriarchal nature of the household, right? Father rule, to have fathers ruling well, to taking up the glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility, right? And then wives submitting to their husbands, respecting their husbands, and those husbands laying down their lives every single day to love their wife well. Okay. And we have reformation there. And then, okay, yes, we need reformation in society and our laws. Absolutely. 100%. I've been advocating for that, and I will continue to advocate for that. But we need reformation in education, because that is where we're losing our kids. Okay. That's where we're losing our kids. So we need reformation in the church, in the household, and education. And alongside of that, we absolutely need to be pursuing just and righteous laws, and like going after no-fault divorce and Obergefell and all these other things. Yes. But if we don't get those 3 things shored up, it'll be like the kings of Israel, who, they had a national repentance through Josiah or one of the good kings, and then the people just fell away. because it didn't take root in the people. So we've got to have reformation in those 3 areas alongside of pursuing righteous and just laws.
A degree here, go get a job here. And that was overwhelming. That was actually more depressing than living in a marriage that is a unit, and where in which you don't have a ton of choices and you don't have a ton of freedom, quote unquote. And so if you watch my content, you know that I usually say you should do this. You ought to do this, because statistically speaking, married women with children are happier. But again, I'm going to have to agree with Melanie too, that the Bible is the foundation and Christ is the foundation, will make you want to do things that are inherently traditional, and that are biblical. So I would say that choice has just gotten so out of hand, and we ought to go back to biblical principles.
The Protestant.
All right, now it seems like the divide here is you got Melanie and Savannah are like really pro trad life. Emily, you're being made out to be the liberal feminist here, even though you're pretty conservative, right? You're pretty.
I know,
pretty
it's funny
much
because everyone says I'm like too far right, which is like there's no winning, is there?
But do you feel that you are a little more on the liberal or feminist side compared to some of the women who are pushing the trad life?
Let's see if she's honest.
I mean, textbook definition feminism of wanting men and women to have like equal rights. Yeah, like
Textbook definition feminism. And like I said at the top of the show, feminism, we need to be done with it, root and branch. And she's I mean, this girl, she's not even first wave feminist. She's pretty infected. All right.
I would not deny that, of course.
You would call yourself a feminist? Because I know people always say feminism means you want men and women to have equal rights. I think that's BS. I think it's an ideology.
What it's supposed to mean and what it did mean until it got hijacked by everything. Now, if you say you're a feminist, everyone's calling you a liberal and all these different things.
But I mean, actually, sorry to interrupt, but I'd go back even further. I don't think it ever actually meant that. I think that was a way to sell feminism.
Thank you, Michael Knowles. Thank you, good sir.
But I think going back to like Mary Wollstonecraft in the early days of feminism, I think it was just basically a view of human nature that said men and women are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And rather than the classical view of human nature, which is that men and women are different, vive la différence, we're complementary, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but, we all get together in the solar system. So I think it goes deeper than it. That's one reason why I would never say I'm a feminist.
Okay. Thank you, Michael Knowles, for saying that. We've got 460 folks watching this live right now. Most of you guys are on YouTube. Please do me this one favor. We had a good many people jump over onto YouTube when I asked the first time. Just take like 12 seconds and come over to YouTube for me. That's going to blast this out to so many more people. You have no idea. Like just watching it live on YouTube tells the algorithm to send it out. So do me this one favor and come over to YouTube and finish watching there. And like it. Everyone, we've got like 14 likes, something like that. Like the video real fast. And that means a ton to me. It helps get this content pushed out so that we can actually grow this thing. So let's keep going.
Is because I just don't think that's how human nature works. I love women. I think women are marvelous. I am as far from a misogynist as it is possible to be. But I don't think men and women are the same. I think certain things are better for men. Certain things are better for women.
No, I think what makes us different are our strengths. I think trying to blend those together is a complete weakness. I think men and women are completely different animals and should be treated differently.
Yeah. Men are made to bring home the bacon. In fact, okay, guys, let me put this forward right now. When women go out and become the primary breadwinners, or at least breadwinners alongside their husbands, they have taken on Adam's curse. Okay, they've taken on Adam's curse. They're double cursed, right? What were the curses for Adam and Eve whenever they sinned against God? Ultimately, when Adam sinned against God, because that's when we fell. Not when Eve fell, not when Eve sinned, but when Adam sinned. All humanity fell in Adam because he was the federal head. He was the patriarch, right? But what were their curses? Now think about this. Adam's curse was that he would toil in his work. He would have to, hard work, basically. Hard days, hard work. Work used to be a joy. Now it's going to be thorns and thistles. It's going to be difficult, right? And so Eve's curse was pain in childbearing. This thing that brings life, that should have been easy, is now incredibly painful, incredibly difficult. One of the most painful things that a woman will do in her life. And yet it's so beautiful. But whenever the woman starts working, she takes on a double curse. She takes on Adam's curse, right? And that's not how it was designed. Ladies, you're not supposed to be double cursed. You're not supposed to be double cursed. All right. So just settle for your own curse and let if at all possible, allow men to bear the curse that they were supposed to bear. And ladies, you bear yours. And then you guys do it together, and you guys take dominion together and do it in Christ and make lots of babies and baptize them. I'm Reformed and Presbyterian, so I had to say that.
So it's like the problem is they're trying to blend these things to be like, oh, we should just be living the same life and doing the same things. Absolutely not. That clearly is not working out as we see that in society. Do I think women should have the right to vote and all these things? Which, yes, all the pick-me feminists, they're like,
yeah, actually, that's a good point, Reformed Christian. Part of the curse was that women will desire to control their husband. They will desire authority over their husband. Yeah, that's part of the submission and being a good helpmate. Before, in the pre-lapsarian days, the pre-fall days, was just natural. It was a joy. But now, post-fall, women desire, that is part of the curse. That's actually very important and relevant to this whole discussion. Yeah, women desire authority now.
oh my God, women shouldn't even vote. Like, I'm sorry. I think that's embarrassing. I think literally all they're doing is trying to get attention from men, ironically, because most of them are probably unhappy in their.
It's interesting that she says that. Yeah, about women not shouldn't even vote. She's making fun of that idea. That was so common sense, a century ago. It's so common sense. And why? Not that women shouldn't vote. It's that households voted. Households voted. And what happened whenever in the whole women's suffrage movement was not that women got the right to vote. It wasn't just that. It was that households lost the vote. Okay, and now you literally have perverse incentives from politicians to start separating families and treating men and women in the same household as different voting blocks and voting groups. That is so destructive to the family unit. And so really, women's suffrage was ultimately a huge blow against the family unit, the nuclear family. And there's no question about that. You've got men and women voting against each other nowadays. And instead of creating incentives where a man is incentivized to vote for the good of his household. I mean, we have representative government everywhere. Like in our own government, it's representative government, right? And so that's what the household had, right? The father represented the household. And the fact that nowadays voting is seen quite literally as a human right. That's insane. That's it. And it is the fruit. Again, I'm going to keep going back to this. I'm studying this right now in our main episodes in Reformation Red Pill. We're about to do a series called American Gods. And we're starting, and basically we're going to talk about how liberalism and all of the ideologies, the ugly isms that spawned from liberalism have become replacement gods that have replaced the true religion of Christianity in America. And liberalism, which says that personal autonomy is the highest good. Well, if that's the case, well, then voting at an individual level is a human right that everyone must have. Because why? Because it is the ultimate expression of total individualistic autonomy. But we're not just individuals. We're a part of a polity. Not only that, we're a part of covenant units, a covenant household. We're a part of churches. We're a part of communities. And the fact that we have now isolated the individual to such a degree that voting is now, your ability to vote is now seen as this like inherent human right that speaks to just a total departure from a biblical worldview. Okay, because there's no human right to vote. There just isn't. It's not in the Bible. Okay, in fact, it's actually done incredible harm to our society, and there's no question about that. If you follow the statistics, if men were only allowed to vote, landowning men. My personal opinion is it should be landowning men with children who can pass a civics test and a Bible test. that would be my recommendation. But I'm a right-wing Christian nationalist radical. That just believes the things that they believed that our country was founded on. Just would follow in the footsteps of our founders. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Voting is not a human right. That's the main thing. What I'm trying to say here.
Their marriages and not happy with all the choices they've made. I'm also coming from a different perspective. I'm in a city. I'm also not super religious. I'm very clear about that online, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm a part of this new wave of feminism. I mean, being in one of the bluest places in the country, I live a very ironically traditional and conservative lifestyle. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't go out. We're having dinner, we're cooking, we're with the dogs. We'd like to
Emily,
get married one day.
My definition of conservatism, you actually have to drink and smoke. It's actually a requirement.
Amen.
I see your point, because sometimes
Baptists hit hardest.
they say women shouldn't vote. I
love you, Baptists, though.
think, hold on, then we're going to lose all the elections because we get all the only married women should vote. The single women should not vote because they all vote for Democrats. But if you really wanted to embrace the trad life, of course, nobody should vote. But that's a topic for another time.
This is what, Knowles is straight up Catholic integralist, and I'm not hating on him for it. And so, because I want my own Protestant version of that, in a sense. No, I don't want a monarchy, though. I actually do think that our particular form of government, as Americans in a democratic or a democratic republic, I think it's a good option. I don't think it's the only good option. I do think it's a good option, and if it's structured well, honestly, was it Adams who said that our government was formed for a moral and religious people, and it is holy. Our Constitution was written and formed for a moral and religious people, and it's wholly unfit for any other. I think that's John Adams. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And it's all all that is bearing out right now today, right? The Constitution is just a document. It won't enforce laws. It's not going to. The Constitution can't conserve anything on its own. It takes people to do that, right? And so, because we've apostatized and walked away from the faith, our Constitution isn't really fit to govern us anymore, unfortunately. Now, I think that we can return. I think, like the prodigal son, we can return, and I pray for that. Anyway.
Ladies, thank you so much.
So much of it is so hypocritical, and ironically, a lot of these statements are like literally just from women to like appease men. And like, I'm sorry, I'm just like, I'm not going to get behind that. And they called me a liberal feminist and Tommy Lauren and all these people. And like, look, we're allowed to have different perspectives. And that's also,
you're allowed in our country. You're allowed to be a feminist. That's the thing. You're allowed to be a feminist. No one's saying you're not allowed to be a feminist, but stop calling yourself trad. You're not trad just because you don't drink and smoke. Okay. What are you? In what sense are you traditional? The lifestyle that you're advocating for would be unheard of to anyone 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Like, it would have been insane. What are you conserving? You're not a conservative. Anyway, before we continue and finish this up, I want to give just a moment to hear from the last two sponsors of this podcast for today, which are, my supplement brand of choice, Mount Athos. And if you want to get your finances in order, Backwards Planning Financial with Joe Garrisi. He's who I personally use. So let's hear from them real quick.
In 1 Timothy 4:8, the Apostle Paul tells us that physical training is indeed valuable for the Christian life. And while physical fitness is not the most important thing in the Christian life, it is still of great importance, particularly for men. Why? Because God has called you to protect and to provide. Men, you are called to be protectors. Therefore, God is calling you to be strong, spiritually, emotionally, and yes, even physically. Physical fitness is also important because God has called you to provide. Your family needs you to live a long, healthy life. So, get strong and stay fit with Mount Athos. They are a Christian fitness company that uses some of the best natural ingredients. So I've personally been using their supplements for 6 months now, and I'll tell you right now, I am not going back. They are my new supplement brand. So stop giving your money to pagan fitness brands that can't even tell the difference between men and women. Join Mount Athos in creating the next generation of health, strength, and spiritual vitality. Visit athosperform.com/reformation. And don't forget to use code reformation for an exclusive discount today. Proverbs 13:22 tells us that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Well, if you're anything like me, you want to be a good, godly man, a man who provides for his family, a man who wisely stewards the financial resources that God has given him. And man, is that hard to do in today's economy.
Now, I have personally spoken with multiple financial advisors, and I want you guys to know that I am personally using Joe Garrisi and his team at Backwards Planning Financial. Maybe you thought like I have. I wish that I had started investing years ago for my family's financial future. Maybe then me and my family would be in a better financial position. Listen, it's never too late to start. Joe Garrisi with Backwards Planning Financial works hard to help families achieve their financial goals. He's a Christian who works with one of the largest and most trusted financial service companies in the world. Whether you have millions in assets or you're just now getting started investing, Joe Garrisi can help you reach your financial goals. Visit backwardsplanningfinancial.com or call Joe Garrisi at 615-767-2555. And we're back. For all you guys on X, last request, please come over to YouTube. That helps me out a ton. We have actually had a bunch of you guys come over and like the video on YouTube and on X if you're watching, but I'd much rather you come over to YouTube. That's going to help me out a ton. That's my last request, and then I'll shut up. Let's keep watching.
Supposed to be the right wing. We're not supposed to be liberals. We're supposed to have different perspectives and actually be able to coexist with each other.
Right. And I'm not completely on the end of like, oh, women shouldn't vote and this and that. I think women should be able to vote. So I'm definitely with you on that.
You're
And
a
I
liberal,
also,
Melanie?
You're a liberal, Melanie? Yeah, it is. That is. So Knowles is sharp. He understands the genealogy of ideas. He understands the genealogy of this notion that like universal suffrage is somehow a human right, right? And it is liberal. It's liberal. And I think part of the project for Christians right now, really, it must be, and that's why we're doing this series coming up on called American Gods, like I said, where we are trying to expose the little g gods, the demon gods, the ideologies that have supplanted Christianity as the American religion. But he understands that it's a liberal idea. It's not truly conservative. It's not Christian.
I guess so. But I also think even if you look at the Bible, you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, she still had a job. Granted, it didn't take priority over her household. So I think that when we're talking about roles, as if a woman wants to be able to work, I mean, I'm not in a 1950s dress right now. Like,
not yet, Melanie.
Work. Yeah, not yet. Not yet, at least.
Okay. I appreciate Knowles a lot because he comes at it tactfully. I'm a little bit more belligerent isn't the word, but I'm a little more forward. He's saying not yet. He's laughing about it. That's probably how I would address it if I was talking to her too, I guess. But like feminism has played out in a million different ways in our society, and really uprooting the feminism from our society and even from our own hearts and our own worldviews. It's going to take time. And when he says not yet, he means it. He means it because even in the way that we dress. Our dress code, our societal dress codes have been totally formed by feminism. In fact, so feminism is the idea that men and women are essentially interchangeable, right? And there's a lot of downstream, and it's an absurd idea on its face, but that's the idea, right? And so if that's the case, well then, we need to burn the dresses and start, women need to start dressing like men. And in fact, the Apostle Paul goes to great lengths, and not just the Apostle Paul. We can go to Deuteronomy 22:5, where God tells us that it is an abomination for men to dress like women and for women to dress like men. And in that particular passage, the Hebrew word there for women to dress up as men, specifically that Hebrew word refers to don the gear of a warrior. Okay, and so there's of course. Yeah, don't dress like men. Men don't dress like women. But even there's implications to like women in combat and all that kind of stuff. But the idea that we're interchangeable it's absurd on its face. And if we're going to get away from that, then we must address the fact that we currently have an androgynous society in the way that we dress. And it's been, let me tell you, my wife is awesome. We've had this conversation, and it didn't take me coming in and saying, no more, jeans. No more of those. This is my household. It didn't take that. It took one coming into a church community that valued women dressing like women and men dressing like men, and the beauty of true femininity. And the Apostle Paul, so that's Deuteronomy, that's Old Testament. Then the Apostle Paul was very jealous to conserve or to preserve the distinctions between men and women, specifically in how we present ourselves in our dress and our hair and all these kind of things. This is a high priority for men to dress like women and women to dress like men, that's an abomination before the Lord. And so, he's saying not yet. He means it. Like to uproot the liberalism and the feminism from our society, it's going to include the end of androgyny. Like women will again start putting on dresses and skirts and modestly dress like women. And it's a glorious thing, right? And so my wife is, it didn't take me just demanding it, but we started talking through these ideas. And basically I said, I really do think that the scripture is clear that we need to be actively preserving the differences and distinctions between men and women. And that should be expressed in the way that we dress. And so now even just like around the house, like instead of just going just for the comfortable thing, like she's wearing skirts, she's wearing dresses, that sort of thing. And it's such a blessing because it doesn't take this like strong arm of, like I am the authority. No, you just reason with your wife biblically, lovingly. And then honestly, it's going to take some care and thoughtfulness in how we shepherd and honestly root the feminism out of our hearts and our wives' hearts. And so, yeah, that's, that might be I know some of you guys hear that and you go, oh my gosh, that's going to be a hard conversation or a long conversation or a difficult one. And you'd be surprised. Especially if your wife is, if she loves the Lord and she wants to submit to your authority and be tactful and honor your wife as the weaker vessel as you lead and love her. So anyway, Michael Knowles, great little nugget there on the not yet on the dress part. I like that.
Least. So I work, and so I can't claim that everything has to be this exact same way. So I do understand that element of it, but I think that the priority with a woman in marriage, and especially if kids are involved, should be the home. That is the priority. Anything else that she wants to do, if she wants to get a part-time job, she wants to do this or that, as long as it doesn't interfere with what she's able to do at home.
And I think it's good if you're talking about women initiating divorce and being unhappy. I think a good part of that is how do we keep women happy and stop that from happening? So saying, not force them. If going to work 3 hours a week makes her happy, whatever it is, then maybe that should be also a priority if the divorce is initiated and so high.
I have this crazy idea. Maybe we should restrict the divorce laws again. But
let's go, Knowles.
That's the much more trad right-wing view. Savannah, you have been characteristically demure, quiet, and trad in this last little segment here. Final word.
Demure.
I personally don't think women should vote, and that's probably going to be a very far.
By the way, did you guys know? Many of you will know this if you are a radical right winger like myself. The primary people who were opposing women's suffrage were women. They were women, and my wife feels the same way. Like when we went to the voting booth this election cycle, she was like, "Man, wouldn't it be great if you could just go for our whole household?" I was like, "I love you." Yes, that would be great. That would be great.
Opinion, and that's not to get male validation.
I can't believe it. You can't believe it, right? Oh no, that is an abhorrent view to her. Like she is sickened by it. Why? Because she's a feminist.
That's simply like I maybe married women because it would just be like my husband having another vote. But during like the suffragist movement, they sold this to women as, oh, well, now you can vote differently than your husband.
Yeah.
So now you have choice. And so if we're going to erase women's choice as in, going on OnlyFans or working or whatever it may be, then you have to repeal the 19th too. I mean,
oh man, come on now. Oh, yeah. Listen, I want to be. There are a lot of people who are very new to this idea, and even you, dear wonderful viewer, who are hearing that going, no, that's horrible. That couldn't happen. Maybe that is even making you uncomfortable. If you're probably watching this, if you're watching this, you're probably a Christian. So just think on the things that we've talked about and pray on those things, because I have been doing. If I had heard this 6 years ago, I would have been aghast because I was a feminist. I didn't know it. I wouldn't have called myself a feminist. I've never taken on that label. But I would have been that guy who was like, oh yeah, first wave feminism, I think had it right, and but then it kind of went wrong when they really started making it about abortion and stuff like that. No, it was, like I said, root and branch. It was a poisonous ideology. And perhaps we could say at the very least, it was addressing some actual issues. Yeah, and that's the very least. And some of them actual issues, some not. But yeah, if you're new to this, I get it. I get it why you would be freaked out by that idea, or that other people think that. But consider the things that we've talked about, and go to the Lord, go to the Word, and you won't find a universal human right to vote in the Word of God. You just won't. In fact, you'll find patriarchy. You'll find father rule. You'll find that it is actually a wonderful protection for women to be under the authority of their husbands and their in their households. So just think on it.
I just don't, that we're losing elections. We lost in 2020 because single women were voting. So I think that's a problem.
I thought it was the ballot drop boxes, but it's a fair point. I mean, there were plenty of women during the suffragette movement.
Voter ID, but it's like, also, didn't you vote? Didn't you vote for Trump?
Well, but it was like my husband had another vote. I'm not voting against my husband. If I was voting against my husband, that would be a problem.
I don't think couples should be voting against each other, right? And I think the man should be the head of the household. So I can see that element of it for sure. Women should.
I think that girl in the middle is getting red pilled in real time. Good job, Savannah.
Melanie, you're more on Savannah's side.
I'm kind of in between, because like, I don't want to be told I can't vote. I'm single too, so I don't want to be told I can't vote.
So technically speaking, if she was real trad, she would understand that she is under the authority of her father until she is married, and then she would be under the authority of her husband, which is just radical in today's society. But that's how the Bible talks about it.
Like,
why not? I would be told
being under the authority is a protection. That's part of the whole point.
Look, sorry to interrupt, Melanie, but I'm a millennial. Millennials have voted traditionally for Democrats. If you told me, Michael, we're going to disenfranchise all the millennials, you'll never get to vote again, but we're going to get good government, say, like, where do I sign up? Take all my votes, please. It's a hassle to go vote. What do I need that for? The point of the voting is the good government. Yeah. And to your point, Savannah, I mean, there were a lot of women who were opposed to the suffragettes, and they didn't want the right to vote. And the reason, I don't think, was that they were, dumb or slaves or something like that. Their arguments were the argument that the basic unit of society should be the family, not the individual. So they were making principled arguments. You can disagree with those arguments. Obviously, they're kind of irrelevant now because women have had the right to vote for 100 years. But they were making serious arguments. So then, I don't know. I mean, what do you say, Emily? I don't think we're going to repeal the 19th Amendment anytime soon. But
that's interesting, because I listen to Knowles not every single day, but with regularity. I would say I listen to Knowles, and he's been pretty skittish on touching on this issue of voting. I've heard in some of the comment sections. And so it's interesting to see him kind of come out like kind of full tilt on this one. And it's encouraging to see. Like I say, moving the Overton window. It's a wonderful thing.
Is it? Would it not be more conservative if the political order was based on the family rather than the individual?
Yeah, but there's also, that goes across too many different things of like rights that we should have, and it's just ridiculous. I don't even really believe, like, yeah, okay, would we be more conservative? Sure. Would I risk like all females not being able to vote? No. And I don't really think females believe that. I think
they do. They really do. They did at the beginning. They do now.
They say these things online to get male validation.
Savannah, are you a pick-me? Are you doing pick-me stuff?
I'm married. I don't need to be picked. I've already been picked.
Yeah, but every single thing you say is literally appealing to men and usually hating on women as well, which is funny because I would think,
oh, this is hard to watch. But it is entertaining, I gotta say. Well done, Knowles.
If I was in a happy marriage, I wouldn't even do this. Like, I would just go out and just be happy and do my thing. I think the advice you give to women is awful. I think it's at a detriment to them. And I don't think it comes from true happiness.
Yes. The liberalization, the progressivization of our society. She admitted it herself. Yeah. Would we be more conservative? Yeah. But would I risk the vote? Would I risk the vote, this essential human right? No, we could never do that. Even though we would have a better society, Oh, that's, yeah.
Yes. And I think it really does come out of insecurity from being in, frankly, a lavender marriage, as everyone online can see.
I disagree. I think
Savannah, are you that easily manipulated by TikTok rumors?
Oh man, it's getting catty up in here. Ooh.
What is it? Can you clear up for a millennial? What's a lavender marriage?
Man, in 2 seconds.
Oh, a lavender marriage is when
why do you think I called you out for hating on me specifically?
Isn't a lavender marriage usually like
my husband online. You berated my
Ooh.
husband for absolutely no reason.
No, I just looked at 2 seconds. I was, oh, that's a gay man. That's why she's
What?
so sassy online.
That's I think that's uncalled for. I don't know anybody's
This is
personal
making
lives
you
here.
sound bitter.
This is what
Knowles' face. Oh, it's like this is becoming like an episode of The Office or something. I don't know. This is generated.
This is the thing, my perspective of what I'm seeing. Savannah is saying all this because she is in an ideal situation. She's in a happy situation. So in an ideal
situation, married to a potentially gay man, and
Oh my gosh. Whoever this Emily girl is, can we excise her from the conservative movement? I mean, she's essentially excising herself right now, hopefully. Do people take her seriously?
what, 19 is a
How do
All right,
you
listen.
know?
As someone
In an
who's
ideal
tap danced in
situation-
his life, I want you to know not every guy who's a little theatrical is lighting the loafers. All right. On that note, we
I don't
have to
care
let
what
you all
people
go. I
feel.
look forward to chatting again, though. You can
Okay.
follow Melanie Mack at Melanie Mack. You can follow Emily at Emily Saves America. You can follow Savannah Faith Stone at Savannah Faith Stone. I can't wait for part 2. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, well that does it for I think we got through some valuable stuff, guys. For those of you who are interested, our Discord server for Reformation Red Pill is now free. You can come join our community. Now there is a paid section where we do in-house debates, and it's really cool. We actually have backstage episodes that if you join the club membership, which is in the description, you get access to all our exclusive content. And we're starting to do these backstage debates where we're doing in-house debates where we're hosting them and putting them on our unlisted YouTube channel just for our members. And you get to participate. So yeah, we're organizing debates on different topics where I will come moderate a debate between different guys in our Discord server. So that's really fun. And so we're hoping to get those out weekly. And so if you want to come participate in a debate, you can. Not only that, we're doing for our Knox tier subscription folks, you guys get not only do you get all the exclusive content, you get our Minavesa card tumbler, you get access to our book club, but we're doing a monthly giveaway gift. And so this month we're doing the Creeds and Confessions Leather ESV Bible. And I'll be announcing who won that. We'll be spinning the wheel and figuring out which of our Knox tier subscribers who engages in our Discord, who gets that. And I'll be shipping that out to you myself. So lots of fun stuff. Come join that. Guys, thank you for joining. Like I said, we're trying to get these out daily. The daily dose. That's the idea. And yeah, so we'll be really cranking out the content. So join our club membership. Help us keep the lights on. Patronize our Christian businesses. Help us build the parallel economy. And ultimately, my hope and prayer is that all the resources we create here would be used to equip you to build, defend, and expand the kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next episode.